I'll explain where I'm coming from.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
It's just showing me
Better know it today.
allowing that act to do.
Nebuch, the biggest game in Baltimore sports in 53 years. Yeah, okay. Nebuch, he
They
says.
might actually win.
Might. Better be.
Supposed to.
Supposed to.
Supposed to. A lot of things.
A lot of things are supposed to happen, right? That's what I've experienced in my life. Okay, so we'll get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this beautiful rainy day.
I got two.
You got two.
No, I have 2 yortzit.
See, so many people were asking questions. That's usually how I work with like Sunday morning shiur or shiurim like this. If I give it time, it's because multiple people have been asking. So I feel like if multiple people are asking, it's probably something that's of interest. Even those who don't have yortzites or Baruch Hashem don't have yortzites in Adar or Baruch Hashem B'li Ayin Hara don't have yortzites yet. That should continue. Ad Mei B'Esrin, first of all. But for those who don't, also important to know which Adar. What are we celebrating here? We need to know. I have one of my kids' birthday in Adar. I mean, this is important stuff, even if you don't have yortzites, but also on a practical level, just a halachic understanding of this idea of the two Adars. Which one are we celebrating? Right? So that's the important understanding of today. It's not just yortzit, because if you don't have a yortzit in Adar, it may not be that much of interest, but understanding what are we celebrating, what are we commemorating might be a better use, and which Adar is it? So, and we got to figure out when my daughter's birthday is. That's important too.
Bar mitzvahs also.
Bar mitzvah is also. We have
I can tell you that.
classic case of the classic I knew of a case where you have twin boys, right? Twin boys born at the end of Adar Aleph. Right, and then one's born before Shkia, one's born after Shkia. So the kid who's older has his bar mitzvah 13 years later, 29 days later. It's crazy. Right? It's a fascinating halachic discussion because he's 29 days younger in a non-leap year. But let's talk about a leap year. Right, a leap year is where it's in. Of course, if someone passes away or is born on a leap year, and then there is a leap year, there's nothing to talk about. Right, if they pass away in the first Adar and then leap year comes around, we have two others, so then we know what to do. It's pretty clear, just like Nisan or Sivan, right? We know when that falls out because there's only one of them. Okay. The question is, and what happens more often, it seems to be with a few people in this room that has happened to, is what do we do when a person passes away in a regular Adar, or has a birthday in a regular Adar, and now there's a leap year. So which yortzeit? What day are we celebrating? What day are we commemorating? What are we doing? Where are we observing? So believe it or not, there are no less than 4 possibilities in halacha. 4 possibilities. I know what you're thinking. It's really like multiple choice here. And it really should be true, false. It should be 2 choices. What are the 2 choices? Other Aleph, other bet, right? I mean, this shouldn't be so complicated if you think about it. But as we know in halacha, coming over a date line, maybe not coming over a date line, everything is more complicated than it should be. And that is very true when it comes to Adars. So I think we're familiar with the first 2 possibilities, maybe. And if not, we'll go over them again. But the last 2 possibilities aren't as crazy as they sound and might make the most sense. So first things first. First possibility. Let's take a look at source 1. The Shulchan Aruch says, this is the Ramah, but this is talking about when Kishma Avrin Hashana, the Ramah is talking, I'm just skipping the bold. He's talking about Heach Chosvin Shtaros. How do you write Shtaros? Very important. We write a lot of Shtaros documents in Judaism. Naming a few, very important ones. Get Lo Leinu. Let's focus on the positive first. What's an important one? Ksuba. Okay. Ksuba, get. I mean, I deal with a lot of documents as well. This is a very important part of Judaism. Sometimes unfortunately, but sometimes fortunately, when it comes to ksubas or gittin. In that respect. So we need to know that the get has to be written a certain way, the ksuba has to be written a certain way. Very important, otherwise it's not kosher. If it's not kosher, we have a big problem, especially for the ksuba. Right? That's a significant problem. Get is also a significant problem, not be kosher, for many, many reasons. We're dealing with a lot of issues there. So what is, so by writing gittin, the Ramah says in source 1, Kishima Avrin Hashana, when we have a leap year, like this year, Kosvin v'adar rishon Adar Stam. Well, which Adar do you write? Let's say it is a leap year. What do you write because we have to be careful with our words. So what do we write? Do we write Adar Rishon, Adar Aleph, Adar Bet? Which one? What should we write? Well, if it's Adar Rishon, Adar Stam. That's the main Adar. So just write Adar. Okay, Adar Sheni, Ubasheni, and by the second Adar, write Adar Sheni. Write Adar Sheni. So what does that prove? What's the real Adar?
First.
Adar Rishon.
But
Interesting.
we hold Moshe Rabbeinu's yortzit on the second.
Right, that's very good. I was going to say, anyone have yortzit in Adar? And if no one responded, Baruch Hashem, we had 3 yortzites. So you have 2 yortzites. And then we have 1.
I think they actually was.
They were on leap years?
I think it's actually.
2. So yeah, so there you go. So, but I was going to say, okay, Moshe Rabbeinu. We all know Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't even say Tachanun on his yortzit. So it's like a yontif.
Both Adars.
Both Adar, just in case. we're machmir, just in case he died on the first Adar. So we have to not say Tachanun because, yeah. Okay. So, nonetheless.
What do we have to lose by writing Adar Rishon? In other words, why would that?
So that's it's a good question. So it may come out. Let's say the Gemara's concern is that what if you invalidate the document, right? What do you have to lose on when you're buying a house and one extra word is included, and that one extra word can now include another 30-day period for the lease agreement for the buyer. Theoretically speaking, in case you were talking to someone who.
But when Moshe died, there wasn't such a thing as Adar Sheni.
When Moshe died, that is correct, right?
Yeah.
So then,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
again,
But
but
then he died in Adar.
we're talking about people who are. Let's assume we're talking about people who did not die in the leap year.
Wait. Actually, you don't know that.
We don't know.
Because Rosh Chodesh was when they came in of
Midbar.
Mitzrayim, okay?
Right.
Moshe died 40 years later. So
Could be.
And Pesach had to be in the spring. They had to add
you never
the extra
know.
month.
Okay.
You never know.
I stayed
But
with
either
that.
way, even it doesn't matter because even if he didn't die, so let's pretend there wasn't an Adar Sheni, it was just Adar. That's the whole point. Now we have a leap year. Now we need to know which one to celebrate. We're assuming this whole shiur is going to be predicated on the fact that someone passed away when it wasn't a leap year. But so that's my simple answer to you, David. That yeah, one word could invalidate the idea. Okay, so the first possibility has to be observe the yortzit in Adar Aleph, because we see by shtaros, by documents, that Adar Aleph is called Adar. Adar is, when I say Adar, I mean Adar Aleph. Adar Sheni, right, is Adar Sheni, but I'm going to tell you it's Adar Sheni before I say that. So Adar Stam, and the normal, the big, the main Adar, whatever wording you want to use, is Adar Aleph. So that's by shtaros. We would imagine we would apply by documents. We would imagine we would apply the same logic by yortzites, birthdays, etc. Take a look at source 2. So this is back to the Ramah. I'm going to go sort of out of order. This is actually much later on in Taf Kuf Samach Ches. So before we were talking about by shtaros, by legal documents. Now we're talking about by yortzites in general. Kisheira Yom Shemes Aviv Imo. I'm reading the parentheses in source 2. The Adar Ashana. Right, right. So let's say someone loses a parent. That's what we're talking about when we assume a yortzit. Doesn't mean you can't commemorate another yortzit, but the primary yortzit we're discussing are one's parents. Doesn't mean, of course, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, friend, whatever it may be. Of course, we feel the pain and we can commemorate in our own way. But right now we're talking about specifically by a father or a mother, or at least that's the classic example. And they pass away the Adar, but now it's a leap year. So we don't know. So when they passed away, it wasn't a leap year. That's where we're going. Yeshomim disane berishon. You have to fast. Anyone here fast on yortzit? Okay. So we stopped that at some point in Klal Yisrael, but this was the thing to do, right? I mean, I don't.
People do.
Sorry. Probably, yeah.
Plenty of people do.
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's a winter, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Many people do it in the heat of the summer. Like someone's yortzit vav av, and I doubt they're.
Actually, the rabbi does.
Is Vav Av?
No, it's Tisha B'Av.
Oh, okay, there you go. He fasts on the. I'm sorry. Okay, that's fair. So that's funny because Aaron Cheats, his father passed away. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, funny is the right word, but you get what I mean by that. But
Ironic.
yeah, ironic. Yes, okay. That's that he's makbid on this halacha. You're saying. Yeah. So there's this idea. There are those who do it, but most have stopped doing this. We focus on the 6 fasts. Unless the yortzit falls on one of those 6 fasts, but that they used to fast, and this was the halacha, if you will, minhag / halacha, about a yortzit. How they would commemorate the yortzit would be they'd fast. That's what they would do. Interesting. Anyone know why? Why do we usually fast? Tshuva, I mean, usually, most of the fasts have something to do with the Beis HaMikdash, except for maybe Tainus Esther and Yom Kippur. Tainus Esther, although, of course, Esther's son is the one who goes to build the second Beis HaMikdash, so there's a connection there, but the fast of Tainus Esther really has nothing to do with the Beis HaMikdash. You can argue the whole Purim story is connected. They're making fun of the Beis HaMikdash in the beginning of the story. By the end, they're about to build the second Beis HaMikdash. So there's a connection there. Yom Kippur has nothing to do with the Beis HaMikdash, but all the other four, for sure, are all connected, according to the Shulchan Aruch, to the Chorban Habayis, to the Beis HaMikdash, to the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. So why would we fast on yortzit? No Beis HaMikdash. I don't know.
No, by the Hasidim,
Sorry?
we don't.
The Chassidim, they don't.
No.
They don't say
We
taka.
make- We make Kiddush.
Right? Chassidim don't, so we're talking about the Litvachs in the room. Why would you fast? So it's interesting, it's discussed by Mazel. We see this in the Rashi in last week's Parsha also. Mazel, believe it or not. Mazel, what's Mazel? Mazel, something you say to someone. Mazel. No, Mazel, and I'm not going to use the word luck. I will not translate it as luck. So
It's not the Mazalos.
I'm going to translate it as Mazel. So there you go. Because I refuse to translate it as luck. It doesn't mean luck. But yeah, I understand why, because Mazel Tov means congratulations, good luck. I don't know.
Sounds
But
astrology.
No.
yeah, so it's
a sign.
mazalos are referring specifically to astrology. Now, mazel, so whether it doesn't matter, believe it or not. Yesh mazel Yisrael, ein mazel Yisrael. It's a machlokas discussion in the Gemara. But in terms of understanding what we do and don't believe, that's not for today's shiur. That could be a different shiur. But mazel in its own right, these whether we allow these astrological signs to have impact in our lives and whether we believe in them or not, we believe, and this is what's discussed as to why one would fast on the parents' yortzeit, that the mazel in the mishpacha is bad on that day. And that's the interesting way of looking at it. That's how they used to fast on yortzeit. The mazel was bad. Obviously, on Tes Adar, the mazel was bad because obviously that individual was taken from us. I know what you're thinking, someone who's 102 years old and passes away in their sleep. Is that bad mazel? That's good mazel. Right, absolutely. But, we're talking about a time when people weren't living to 102, and so someone passed away, so they figured, okay, the mazel must be bad. Don't go on long trips on that day on the yortzeit. That's where a lot of these things came from, of staying home on yortzeits, and because they had bad mazel. Interesting. So this idea of mazel, well, there's bad mazel, but when is there good mazel? Good mazel. Someone's birthday, right? Someone's birthday. Yeah, so that is discussed in a considerable amount of places in halacha about having good mazel on your birthday. So that's not a made-up thing. Having good mazel on your birthday. Hebrew or English, by the way? What do you think? Hebrew, right? Yeah, the Levush says even English birthday. Secular birthday has significance. So don't throw away your secular birthday just yet. Don't stop giving brachos on your secular birthday either. Just saying, as a possibility. So there's some sort of mazel, if you will, on that day. Good for a birthday, not so good on some level for a yortzeit. But we need to know when to observe. So the Ramah says by yortzeits, back to by source 2, v'yesh omrim. So what happens in a leap year? You don't know which one to observe. Dias ane barishon. The Ramah says you should fast, i.e. commemorate the yortzeit, on the first Adar. Im lo shemeis b'shnasa ibar. Of course, if the individual passed away on a leap year, so then just observe whatever Adar he or she passed away on during the leap year. Does nogin l'sanos b'sheni. But otherwise, if the person passed away in a normal Adar, no leap year, now it's a leap year, you should commemorate the yortzeit the first Adar. V'china minyan l'sanos b'rishon. You should fast the first Adar. Interesting. So that's what the Ramah says.
A friend of mine who has the same issue only holds the first Adar.
Right.
He goes, my father didn't die twice.
Right, very good. Okay, so we'll get to both. That's a good point, actually. We'll get to both. That'll be our svara for why not to do both, right? Because because the person only passed away once. That's true. Fair enough. So we seem to be saying the first Adar, at least the first approach. So first Adar, I would have asked everyone in the crowd, what would you have said? I would have thought second Adar, because why? Yeah, everything else is in second. I mean, for first Adar is everyone makes such a big deal out of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan. Why do we call it Mar Cheshvan? We go out of our way. There's no Yom Tovim. There's nothing going on. I have news for you. Nothing's going on Adar Aleph either.
You shouldn't have Messiah.
Okay, fine, but that's also a discussion in the Rishonim. Does that apply to Adar Aleph, Adar Bet? But this is all part of the same machlokas. Everything we've just said is all connected in some way, shape, or form. So it's interesting coming out, but ultimately, and maybe you could argue, perhaps, that everything is connected. We need to know which Adar it is. So I would have said the second Adar just in terms of how, I'll say it like this. Let's forget that we have yortzites in the room. But let's pretend that you have no skin in the game. So which Adar is I'll ask you in 5 months, I'll ask you in 3 months, right? Which Adar do you think we should have celebrated as the most important Adar? So you'll say to me, well, Adar Bet, we did everything, and Adar Aleph, we did nothing. So I would have said Adar Bet. Right? That's what I would have said. But interestingly enough, the Ramah's first possibility is Adar Aleph. So why Adar Aleph? Why would we pick Adar Aleph and not Adar Bet? Okay, so we have a proof from legal documents. Very nice. What's the svara? What's the logic for why this would be?
The svara would be if Rahman al-San, you have you're in the year.
Right?
You only hold 12 months.
Very good. We'll get to that. Very good. So it's interesting. There's even simpler than that, even before that. So take a look at source number 3. We're going to be going through this Gemara. It's really Gemara and Megillah and Vav and Beis, but I picked and chose throughout the Gemara. Source 3. We know Ein Bein Adar Rishon LaAdar Sheni Ela Kriyas Megillah Matanos Avyonim. The only, or the main difference between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni is Kriyas Megillah Matanos Avyonim. The mitzvahs of Purim are celebrated Adar Bet. They are not celebrated in Adar Aleph. Fine. Says the Gemara, the Ein Ma'avir Nala Mitzvahs. It's interesting. I'm fast forwarding a little bit. But the Gemara says, Ein Ma'avir Nala Mitzvahs. Only the mitzvahs of Purim are held by Adar Bet. But what do we seem to say? Ein Ma'avir Nala Mitzvahs. Don't pass up the opportunity to do a mitzvah. If you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah now or later, you do it now, if you can. Right? So it's the same logic. Which Adar should we celebrate? The first, the one that comes first. Right? Do it Adar Aleph. Don't push it off Adar Bet. If you have the opportunity to do a mitzvah Monday or Tuesday, do it Monday. Right? If all else is the same in your schedule, so you do it Monday or prioritize your schedule. But okay, let's pretend you can't. So Mondays, you do it first because Ein Ma'avir Nala Mitzvahs. So according to that, yes, the Mishnah tells me that this is the diuk that the Rishonim make, that this is what they understand, that yes, the mitzvahs of Purim are in Adar Bet, but everything else we should apply the rule of Ein Ma'avir Nala Mitzvahs. We don't pass up on mitzvahs, and it should be Adar Aleph. So that's the understanding of that. So the first possibility as to when to celebrate the yortzit or commemorate the yortzit would be Adar Aleph. Okay, what about the second possibility? The one I wouldn't say we're probably familiar with, but fell down. Okay, it's also a good opportunity. I want to thank so much to Alan and Miriam. So sorry. I have it right here in front of me. Sometimes the most important things are right in front of your face and you forget. Sponsoring today's shiur in memory of Miriam's aunt, Sarah Gittel Bas Yaakov, and Hashem should have an aliyah. Yortzeit today? That would have been great if it was an Adar. That would
No, but it's not. My husband has his mother's yortzeit. We had that
Adar Aleph.
Now hers is on Tu B'Shvat.
Tu B'Shvat. Wow. Okay. We had a lot of Baruch Hashem. We had some babies born on Tu B'Shvat, so that helps a little bit. The good Mach, her grandson, and we had a nephew born on Tu B'Shvat. Baruch Hashem. So good things are happening on Tu B'Shvat to hopefully continue to allow your aunt's neshama to have an aliyah. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, so that's possibility number 1 about the first Adar. Possibility number 2, you're thinking it really sounds like a 50-50 shot, Rabbi. Adar Aleph, Adar Bet. It's got to be Adar Bet if that's possibility number 2, and it is. So possibility number 2 is observe the yortzeit in Adar Bet. Source 4. Where do we get this from? Back to the Shulchan Aruch. Kishira yom shemes aviv o imo be'Adar. If someone loses a parent in Adar, and again, not a leap year, but now it's a leap year. V'yashanu muberes yisane ba'Adar beis. The Shulchan Aruch holds, before we quoted the Ramah is the Ashkenazic posek of the last 500 years. Shulchan Aruch is a little before him, but they did overlap. So the Shulchan Aruch says, and it's the Sephardi posek, the Shulchan Aruch says you should fast and commemorate the yortzeit in Adar Bet. And interestingly enough, the Ramah himself seems to use this logic for Adar Bet by Henry's case from before, a bar mitzvah. By a bar mitzvah. Where do we see this? Source 5. This is way before in Halacha, early on in Chelek Aleph. The Shulchan Aruch says, Mishin alad ba'Adar, someone's born in Adar, v'na'aseh bar mitzvah b'shnasa Ibra. This is the question I get most when it comes to leap years. We have a bar mitzvah in a leap year of Adar. Kid's born in a non-leap year, and now the bar mitzvah is in a leap year. What do we do? Which Adar? Well, this is, I don't want to say more important, but this we need to know. The kid, when is the kid a bar mitzvah? If he's not a bar mitzvah, he can't, not only shouldn't he go get an aliyah and read from the Torah, he can't. So it's not really, it's a nice idea, it's a minhag. Yeah, technically. You can still get maftir, right? I was over Shabbos davening with Svardim. They did Hosafos. So all the kids got aliyahs. Never seen that before. But okay, so that was. But maftir also they gave to the kid who looked like he was bar mitzvah, but he wasn't wearing a hat, so I guess he wasn't. But he was 11 or 12. He was close. But yeah, so that was true. So you could. But I mean, it's something to think about. But it's really that's an important one. We need to know when the kid is a bar mitzvah. We use that term as something we celebrate, but what it means is the kid is now chayiv in mitzvahs. He's a bar mitzvah, or bat mitzvah. Someone is now chayiv in mitzvah. It's the same idea. It's more important than it sounds because we think of it as cute little party, but it actually has significant halachic implication. So if someone's born on Adar, not on a leap year, now it's a leap year, einu nasa bar mitzvah ad Adar sheni. The Ramah was the one by legal documents who seemed to say Adar Aleph is the important. Now he's saying by a bar mitzvah, he doesn't become a bar mitzvah until Adar Bet.
But it's two different things.
I was going to say.
The shtar, you're looking at a specific date, right?
Correct.
But by a bar mitzvah, you're looking at 15 days before Pesach or 40 days before
Correct.
Pesach. So if there's an Adar Sheni, right, Adar Rishon would be 70 days, before.
Correct.
So it's different. It's a date versus like
Yeah.
closest on a calendar.
Also by shtaros, we'll go after the way people speak. Lashon b'nei ach, lashon b'nei adam. By shtaros, his line by shtaros, Ramah is saying is that Adar Stam means Adar Rishon. It's just the way people talk. Because if you're going to tell me something different, tell me Adar Sheni. Otherwise, if you just say the word Adar, I assume you're talking about Adar Rishon. Here, we don't know when the kid is a bar mitzvah. It's a problem to do it early. It's not a problem to do it late. That's my understanding of the Ramah here. It's not a steer necessarily. It's not a contradiction. It just, the kid can get, how often, more often than not, but significant amount of time, the kid isn't bar mitzvah on his bo bayom, or even the Shabbos after his bo bayom. The Shabbos after his bo bayom is vayakal pakude. It's 400 psukim his kids. Yeah.
The problem is putting on tefillin.
Correct. So putting on tefillin is interesting, and then getting back to the minhag of 30 days before, where that comes from.
Not everybody
But
does that.
not everyone does that. But even still, when is he chayiv to put on tefillin is a different discussion. When he's making a bracha, there's for chinuch. But yes, absolutely. So even simpler than that, I think my understanding of this Ramah is that on a very simple level, the kid can get bar mitzvahed. All of my brothers-in-law, they did Shmini because they're all born around Pesach time, right before Pesach, some after. They're not going to have no one's having a Shabbos HaGadol bar mitzvah, right? No one's getting bar mitzvah right before Pesach. So they all had the bar mitzvah after Pesach, Shmini. So both of them had bar mitzvah Shmini. That's a very common thing to do. People do that in the summer, right? Everyone's away in July, let's say. So everyone's in summer camp or whatever. So the kid's bar mitzvah, we're going to push it off till Kitzei Seir Kitzavah. That's pretty common. Happens pretty often. All of our kids were born on winter break, it seems, or close to it.
But isn't it still bar mitzvah on his,
Maybe we'll push it off.
bar mitzvah on his day? You need to,
Correct. Yeah, that's I think what Henry's saying. We need to know when he's putting on tefillin. Yes, but the celebration where you're inviting the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles, that's what we're talking about. Correct. Absolutely. That's actually a really good point because they do tell the families that kid's gonna, like Henry was saying, kid's gonna wear tefillin and the kid's gonna be a bar mitzvah. I mean, the kid, this is a huge, do something, take the kid out to dinner or something. I don't, it's a big deal. That night, Tes Adar or whatever, that's the real bar mitzvah. That Kriya Shema, that he says that night is, that's a real mitzvah d'oraisa for that kid. So that's his first mitzvah, saying Shema at night, because that's when the kid becomes 13. So yes, absolutely. I'm talking about the celebration with the balloons and the grandparents and the nachas, which is important. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so that's the second possibility. It would be Adar Bet. So why Adar Bet? We know the svara, the logic to say Adar Aleph, because ein ma'avir and ala mitzvahs. We don't push off a mitzvah. You have an opportunity to do a mitzvah A or B, do it A. Don't push it off if there's no difference. So what would be the svara? So it's interesting. Well, we're told, based off the Mishnah we saw before, that all mitzvahs of Purim must be observed in Adar Bet. So if all mitzvahs of Purim are observed in Adar Bet, we're just ignoring Adar Aleph. That's it. It's like Mar Cheshvan then. Adar Aleph is, the only thing I would say is Zayin Adar Aleph.
Purim is a D'Rabbanan.
Correct. It's a little closer to it's in Tanakh, so it's a little different. But yes, it is D'Rabbanan. It's not in the Torah. It happened well after Torah. Purim and Chanukah are definitely not D'Oraisa. But they have a little more of an importance because it's discussed in Tanakh, specifically Purim. Interesting enough. It's like Tainus Esther. Interesting. But even though it's totally, not mentioned in the Nevi'im, right? But it's Esther says fast. So it's like there's a connection to be made. But yes, Tainus Esther would be the least of the as an aside, not to belittle it. So if we're told all the mitzvahs of Purim fall out in Adar Bet and we're just ignoring Adar Aleph, so let's just keep doing that. We're going to ignore Adar Aleph. That's it. Yortzites are included. That's what we would say. Fine. So then that would be observing the yortzit in Adar Bet. That's possibility number 2. Possibility number 3, I give you a choice. This is the students know. Whenever I give multiple choice tests, which are often because they're easy to grade, right? Is if there's an all of the above option or none of the above, it's almost always that. But then I throw it in just in case. Once in a while, I'll throw in where it's not that, but almost always it's there's a reason I'm writing all of the above or all of these answers are correct or whatever it is. So this choice C would be all the answers are correct, all of the above. A and B. What does that mean? As Henry said, yeah, but my parents didn't pass away twice. It's true. So take a look in source number 6. Yesh machmirin, miu yesh machmirin, le'esanos b'shneim. That we commemorate both yortzites. So they used to fast. There are many who were machmir, they were strict, and they would fast both yortzites. So if they had yortzit Tes Adar, I don't know. They would fast Tes Adar Aleph and Tes Adar Bet. So you didn't really like leap years. Just saying. Right? That wasn't, that's like saying, when there was a leap year, it's like saying there's another fast. There's another Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. There's another, I don't know. I don't know that I would, that would bring me nechama for losing a parent,
Is it part of the yortzit for the benefit of the neshama?
Yes. So the Arizal says the neshama comes down. That's why it's good to go to the kever if you can within 3 days at least of the yortzit. There's a lot of there's a lot of spirituality going on. I don't know exactly what happens on a physical level, but someone's coming down. Someone is there at the cemetery when you go to visit your father or wherever you may be going to visit. So there is something going on. I can't prove it to you, and I don't have I don't know how to explain on a physical level, but on a spiritual level, something's going down according to that result. So
But that would also explain why they're doing it 2 times. In other words, they're
just in case, yeah, make sure he didn't get into traffic upstairs. I don't know. Yeah, no, it could be. It could be. I don't know. Yeah, it's a fair point. I think that's just in case. Yeah, I mean, look, today, and especially raise of hands, anyone fasts? Can't imagine, right? Didn't think so.
My husband forgets.
Yeah? I knew this was a holy shul. Look at that. Wow. Oh, wow.
Ori does also.
Are he fast?
He has
What?
2 in
He's 2 in 3 weeks. He fasts, right?
In Hanukkah, yeah.
Oh, that's like real litvach. He's not Hasidish at all. He doesn't have a Hasidish bone in his body. Wow. Your husband's has no Hasidish nothing. Wait, that he could still be Hasidish. They allow Kohanim to but that's so cool. Okay, that's that's intense. So that's why. And we'll still hold it. He still gets the award for that's impressive. Tell him I'm impressed. Okay, so we fast according to the Ramah. You fast on both. So if you're not fasting, is it really that difficult to come out and you say Kaddish? You light a candle. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. The bigger issue would be really the fasting. You have to fast twice. So, that's a little much. So why? Why would we commemorate both? Pick one. I don't know, 50-50 shot. Pick one. Why do we have to do both? So it's interesting. The Gemara says, source 7, Shekol ha-mitzvos shenoagos b'sheni, noagos b'rishon, chutz mimikra Megillah. What are we saying? That all mitzvahs, there's 2 lines in the Gemara, and there are 4 ways to read it. And that's how we get the 4 possibilities. That's essentially what we're suggesting in halacha here. But according to the Gemara, all the mitzvahs that apply in Adar Sheni apply in Adar Aleph, except for the mitzvahs by Purim, which means everything that applies in Aleph applies in Bet, and vice versa. Which means all yortzites, birthdays, that's also cool. Use that one to your advantage. Anyone who's got a birthday in Adar. They got 2 birthdays according to this. Both, we got to remember both Adars. So any mitzvah in Adar Aleph applies to Adar Bet. Any mitzvah in Adar Bet applies to Adar Aleph, except for Purim. But that's it. Everything else is the same. It's the same month, redone. It's like 2 Pesach Seders. It's the same thing. You don't have any difference. Yeah. Okay, but that's totally different. Pesach Sheni is to remember the Korban Pesach that you couldn't bring for Yud Daled Nisan. Pesach, there is absolutely no difference. The counting of Sefira has nothing to do with the Pesach. We just do it then because we don't want you to fall asleep. It's a minhag to do it at the Seder. But am I wrong? There is no difference in your Seder except for you're probably a little more tired. Night 2, unless night 2 falls out on Motzei Shabbos. But when you had time to take a nap. But there's absolutely no difference between Seder 1 and Seder 2 except
Some of the wordings
Okay, there's like, I'm talking about, but I'm saying in terms of the Seder, Olam, yes, there's like, if it's Motzei Shabbos, you say, right.
No, even.
There's like 3 words in one of the paragraphs.
There's a
The
whole-
stuff at the end.
Yeah,
At the end.
to the second, and there's Nirtza, which I haven't said in, I don't want to say how old I am, but almost 40 years. But not, somewhere between 30 and 40 years, I haven't said parts of Nirtza that, Okay, so some of you, whatever it may be, the point is there's no difference between day 1 of Shavuos, day 2 of Shavuos, right? I mean, the Kriyas Torah is different. I'm saying in terms of the way we celebrate the actual day. We don't say, so it's the same thing by Adar. Adar Aleph, Adar Bet, same thing. Redo. It's like Groundhog's Day. We redo the whole thing except for Purim. That's the exception. So then yortzit should be the same. Since it's a doubt, we're going to observe an Adar yortzit in both Adars. Okay, fine.
So what are the mitzvahs out there for Adar Sheni other than Megillah and Purim?
That's it. Meaning we're talking yortzites, we're talking birthdays, we're talking special days. But yeah, the only thing we only keep in Adar Bet or Adar Sheni would be Purim. And all the accoutrement that accompany
My
it.
grandson, is Adar.
See?
My mitzvah's going to be an Adar Sheni.
There you go. See, there you go. Based off the Shulchan Aruch we just read, that the Einu Nasa Bar Mitzvah Ad Adar Sheni. And he was born Adar Aleph. Or an Adar Stam, I assume. Well, no, he was born. He had to be an Adar Stam because if he was born Adar Aleph, he'd be Bar Mitzvah Adar Aleph. Right? That's so cool. This year?
This year now.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Okay, that's very exciting. Should have said that for the halacha. Okay, so that's possibility number 1. Possibility number 2. Possibility number 3. One more. I know what you're thinking. Choice A. Choice B. Choice C was all of the above. Choice D is not none of the above. I've done that on tests. Then they really get confused. So then it's really just a true or false question, right? Because if you do, I've done that before on tests, and girls will point out, you're just saying true or false. Because you got 2 choices to it, it's 50-50 shot, and you're saying all the above, none of the above. Then it's just, I just ran out of random examples to give on right. So what's the 4th possibility? Okay, the 4th possibility is my favorite in halacha. Because, how could halacha find a way to get more confusing, right? You have A, B, all the above. What could D possibly be? Okay, so this is not actually so crazy. Something Henry was saying a little bit before, but this is a Tashbitz. So the Tashbitz lived in the 13th century. So the Beis Yosef lived a little after. Quotes the Tashbitz. That's Rav Yosef Cairo, is the Beis Yosef, and he says, "Sheyesh lis anos." I'm on source 8. The lomar kaddish b'chol shana sheyom meis aviv u'b'shana u'beres b'shana rishona yis'ana. Interesting. So he says that in the first year of Avelos, the Avel needs to count Yud Beis Chodesh, 12 months. That's very important. You got to have 12 months of Avelos. We'll get to 13 in the late period, right? But 12 months of Avelos. So, and not, what's an important, everyone says, I always correct them, it's the wrong term. It's not your year of Avelos, right? Why is it not a year of Avelos? It's 12 months. Who cares? What's the difference? Leap year, right?
And the same thing when people die, some people hold that the first yortzeit is the day of Kavura. Not
Very
the
good.
Day of Mace.
Correct. Right. So it depends also.
it's
So
within 3
we hold like
days.
the Taz that is, if it's within 3 days, which generally Baruch
And not
Hashem.
everybody holds that.
Right. Correct.
Trust me on that one.
Right. Baruch Hashem, generally speaking, we try, very important to get buried within 3 days. If it's not within 3 days, I do say that if it's more than 3 days, at least first year, then I go after, because it's got to be 12 months. It's the same logic. It's all in part
And
of.
you go back to the day of.
Correct. It gets very confusing. So that one, the shul office, that's a confusing one to remember, because you gotta, then the yortzite's changing. The good news is it only changes once. So it's not going, because then that gets really confusing. Imagine having a birthday on a different day every year, right? That could be too confusing for me.
You have one family that has different minhagim. You got
There you go. Okay, that in its own right is going to get confusing. So in the first year of Avelus, the Avel needs to count 12 months, not 1 year. So the first yortzeit, the Tashbit says, stop in Adar Aleph because you've reached 12 months, right? You got your 12 months, so I'm not going to go to Adar Bet. That's 13 months. I don't need so stop in Adar Aleph, and that's it. But all other yortzeits, what should you do? So then you could do the second Adar. But if it's the first yortzeit, so if someone passed away last Adar, for example.
Well, it doesn't mean, no, okay, right, but the yortzeit comes out in Nisan or.
Correct, but let's say they passed away in Adar, for the simple understanding of it, the last Adar, right? So when it wasn't a leap year. So now I need to know, when's the yortzeit this year? Is it Adar Aleph or Adar Bet? Well, Adar Bet would mark 13 months. Adar Aleph would mark 12
Yeah,
months.
during a regular year, you would stop after 12.
Correct.
Or say Kaddish after 13.
Correct. But in this year, what do I do? I need to know how many months am I? That's why it's important to say 12 months, not a year. So according to that, you stop the first yortzeit, you reached your 12 months by Adar Aleph. But all other yortzeit, no. So on all of the yortzeits, what do? You do the second Adar because that's the real Adar. Everything we've heard before up until now said, except for the first source, it said that the real Adar is the second Adar. That's our Purim, that's our this, that's our that.
According to that reasoning, it's not just an yortzeit and Adar. Any yortzeit within a year that's a leap year.
Correct.
That's what I just said.
Correct, that's what I'm saying. I was just using this as a classic example because it's easy to calculate 12 months from Adar to Adar. But yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're going in the 12 months, you're going to reach an Adar, a leap year of Adars. Yes, exactly. You apply the same principle. And interestingly enough, what's the importance of the 12 months? Right? What is it about? Where is the importance of it? Why is
So the
neshama is somewhere floating? It's hard to understand. I'm not going to say what's the term. Purgatory. Yeah, I won't use purgatory, but but I will.
But that's why we stopped saying Kaddish after 11.
Correct. So that's why we don't say Kaddish 12 months. Why? Because we believe, and it's actually Mission 80 in source 9, but the judgment of Rishayim is Gehenna is 12 months, right? So we say they get their judgment for 12 months. So why do we stop saying Kaddish? We say Kaddish 12 months. The Holy Avelus, 12 months. No, because we stop the Avelus because we believe that we're saying that there's no way that my parent or whatever, grandparent is in Gehenna. So I'm stopping now to show it's over. I'm going to stop at 11 months because I know that the judgment has ended because there's no way that person was a Rasha. It's an interesting way of looking at it. That's why Kaddish is only 11 months, generally speaking. Although, it's always, as we'll see this year, interesting, that we don't have Kaddish for the 12 months. We stop. So what do? Why don't we do 11 months and 30 days? Okay, so we stop a month early, but Avelus still applies. Very important. People forget that all the time. I'm not saying Kaddish. Everything else is the same.
Still a chiyuv to the Yom if nobody's
Correct. And if you want to, it's like that's what you always say. Some Hasidim are Mako. I think Litvachs don't even daven. Like they're very makbid. It's like Rosh Chodesh or like they're makbid not to daven, or it's like Shabbos. I should say it's like a chiyuv on Shabbos. It's like not for yortzeit. For Yud Beis Chodesh, like they don't daven Litvachs. I think it's the same by Litvach. Hasidim probably do. If they
don't daven during the year.
No, but Hasidim who do, they'll try to daven if, let's say, there's no chiyuvim, right? They'll take the Yom, for example. But Litvachs, I don't think they even
Don't say
they did it for 11 months. Give them a break. That's what I always say.
Hasidim actually, a lot of them don't even daven at the Yom if they don't see Chachams.
Right. Interesting. So this is also why Kaddish is for 11 months of Avelus. We show our trust that the departed is not in Gehenna, is not serving a 12-month sentence, so they don't need my Kaddish for the 12th month, if you will. That's the logic behind it. And is definitely out after 11 months, so we could stop saying Kaddish after 11 months. But it's interesting just to understand the back and forth of this. But it's true. And in so many ways, and really I just quoted the Gemara itself that in its entirety, just so you could see it, I picked, I just cut and pasted throughout the Gemara, so I just felt like it was appropriate to at least put the whole piece in its order, in its Seder. But we have 4 possibilities, all very good choices. If you're not fasting, then observing both isn't the worst thing in the world. Like as Henry said, it's a fair point. Parents didn't pass away twice. It's true. It's pick and choose in Judaism. But we have the first possibility, Adar Aleph, and not Adar Bet. Second possibility, Adar Bet, not Adar Aleph. Third possibility, all of the above, both, which I don't see a lot of people do, but many do. Many do, especially those who aren't fasting. Let's put it that way. Why not? Another Kaddish, it's not the end of the world. I've seen people give tikkun, give like a little schnapps or whatever after on both. It's like, we just did this. How many, yortzeits do you have? I knew someone who would do that for every yortzeit. Yeah, it was very nice. And we had breakfast every day. There was always some sort of yortzeit, a friend, cousin, Israeli war hero.
You should go with the right.
No one had any issue with that.
Every Rebbe's yortzeit, they don't.
Correct. The yortzeit
They
wheel.
don't say that.
Yortzeit wheel. So that's one possibility to do it in both. The fourth possibility: observe the first yortzeit in Adar Aleph after you get to because you don't want to have. We need 11 months for the Kaddish and 12, right? For that, and then for the rest of the year, because you're not going to have a yortzeit 13 months in that respect, and then later years do Adar Bet. A lot of people do that, interestingly enough, based on the Tashbetz. I want to say which one's more. I've seen all. I want to say I've seen all 4. I've seen the last 3 a lot more. But I've seen all four. I've seen all four. There's what to rely on either way. If you're up for it, both is always good. But again, if you're fasting, then maybe we want to decide on that one. But to each his or her own. Excellent. So, yeah, we have about 7 days before. 8 days.
What?
So we have a real birthday this year.